All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back or welcome for the first time to my channel. I'm Davina Katulski, self-help author and psychologist, life coach, and New Thought spiritual practitioner. This channel is dedicated to personal growth, spirituality, health, and well-being. And everything we talk about in this channel is about supporting our mind, body, and spirit. It's my pleasure to be with you today for another interview with a wonderful person. Jaime Saginor is a board-certified holistic health coach. She received her training at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which is based in New York City, and she's been coaching clients in Los Angeles and virtually online, for the past 14 years. She came to health coaching after struggling for years with her own health problems that she was unable to solve through standard Western means. And through research and personal experimentation, Jaime discovered that most of her health problems were linked to food and lifestyle choices. By incorporating holistic modalities and relatively simple changes to her diet, Jaime was able to heal herself, increase her energy and vitality, and regain a natural trust of her body's own intuition. As an artist, she coaches other creative professionals, so because Jaime's also a filmmaker and actor. I'll let her tell you more about that. But she helps them struggle with their unique challenges of a creative lifestyle, how to get back into balance. And Jaime has worked with Emmy Award-winning directors, creators of successful Netflix shows, well-known actors, writers on major network series, and she has other specialties, including working with sugar addiction and sugar cravings. I have referred some of my own clients to Jaime because I know she does amazing work. But before we begin, let me say that this channel is about information. It's not medical advice, it's not mental health advice, and nothing you hear here is a substitute for your own medical care, psychotherapy, or other mental health services that you would seek out on your own. This is a place to share information, to empower one another, and please take what works for you and leave the rest. Again, I invite you to please like the channel, subscribe to my channel, and leave your comments below. All right, welcome, Jaime. Jaime, your website is Healthy Jaime, that's JAIME.com, and it says the following: this is not a weight loss program, although you'll likely lose weight. This is not a diet, but your diet will definitely change. This is not a meal plan, a juice fast, or a magic pill. This is a transformation. I love that. I absolutely love that because there are so many people selling you meal plans and juice fasts, magic pills, but what you're offering here is transformation. Can you tell us a little bit more about your business, Nourish Your Body, and about this transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, by the way,
Yeah, of
Davina. Good to see
course.
you. And yeah, so basically the difference in the way that I approach working with people um, out, it's sort of the anti-diet, if you will, because people are probably familiar with this, but most of the diets at this point, 95% of people who go on a diet gain all or most of their weight back. So we know that that is not a winning solution for sustainable health. And part of the reason is because of bioindividuality.
Mhm.
So it's not taking into account the individual and all of the many, many facets, whether it be, your body, but also your personality and your tastes and your preferences and your lifestyle, et cetera. It's not taking into account the individual. And then also it's likely not sustainable. It's either very restrictive or it's just not doable for whatever reason in people's lives. So for these reasons, and usually I have people coming to me who have been through it all, who have been through every diet and that kind of thing. We're taking a different approach, and so what we're doing is we are having or I'm having people partner with their body
Mm.
instead of work against it, which
Uh-huh.
is,
That's good.
it should be obvious, but is the exact opposite of the diet industry.
Yes.
So we're basically having people listen to their body signals in a way that, for cause and effect, in a way that starts to create intrinsic motivation. So even the idea of partnering with your body and listening to your body signals and then honoring your body's needs, that alone is sometimes you know, transformative for people. That alone. People are not used to listening to their body. Their relationship with their body can be so antagonistic, and it can be a revelation to actually hear their body and then to start partnering and be kind to their body, be compassionate, and be honoring their body's needs. So that's the first thing. But again, it also, if you're listening to cause and effect, it also starts to create intrinsic motivation, meaning, oh, I eat this thing, it makes me feel awful. I don't want to feel awful. I'm going to do this thing instead. And that takes away the need for discipline and willpower and restriction and all of those things that come along with the diet and a meal plan and all of the, the stuff that works while you're doing it and then stops when you lose your motivation or stops when you
That
stop
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
So,
sense. You're tuning into
yeah,
yourself and hearing your own positive and negative reinforcement from whatever you're putting in your body.
exactly. So it
Mm.
makes it sustainable. So it's really about a complete transformation of your relationship with your body, your relationship to food, and working to support yourself for long-term sustainable health, which is very different than I have 20 pounds to lose. Let's do this fast and quick, and not in relation to if it's making my body feel good or if it's sustainable.
So it's really about a commitment to the long-term well-being and being in integrity with your body and not just a quick fix.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that sounds really important. And it sounds like you're working with people to see their body as sacred, but also be compassionate with their body, understand their body. And you're right, a lot of things are very antagonistic, a lot of
Mhm.
self-loathing, a lot of hate, instead of appreciating your body and wanting to nurture it and be kind to it. That is really a different approach.
Yeah, it's almost like, and I have a 21-day body love challenge that I have for people because that's really the foundation of it. People think of, oh, self-love and body love and, as cheesy or something, sometimes it can be seen as that way, but actually it's foundational and it's one of, you have a relationship with your body, and one of the most important things in a relationship is trust
Yeah,
and respect and, these types of things. And when you start to practice that, it starts to create love and it starts to create increased self-esteem and that kind of thing. So it's foundational. When people don't feel that way about their body, they're less likely to treat it well, they're less likely to choose good foods for it, etc. So it's really important to have that as the foundation.
absolutely agree. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I'm a fan of Louise Hay of Hay House, and
Mm,
she wrote, the book Heal Your Life. And she has the affirmations about loving your body and sending love
yeah,
to every aspect of your body. And it is
yeah,
transformational. It absolutely changes when you love yourself and you love your body. Yeah, definitely. It's a totally different relationship. It's a different paradigm.
yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about, I want to kind of talk to issues facing women or folks who were assigned female at birth who are over 40, because we're kind of ignored. That's a
Mhm.
group of people whose health issues no one really cares about. And can kind of tell us what are some of the health concerns or the nutritional things that you work with folks that are female, assigned female at birth and they're over 40. So women over 40.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is an interesting topic because you're right. It's not, I've heard doctors talk about how in their medical training, there's maybe a paragraph on menopause, for instance.
Yeah.
And so there's just very little that most doctors know about it. Luckily, there are some people, some doctors and experts who know a lot about it and are taking the time and care to inform. So that's great. But really, what's happening is that we're producing less estrogen, and estrogen is so protective of everything. It's protective against degeneration of the brain, of muscle deterioration, of
Bone loss.
elasticity, of the bone loss, all of this stuff. And so, with the loss of estrogen comes an increase in risk for a lot of disease and potentially,
Mhm.
and also just a lot of hormone fluctuation. And so basically we are looking, and also a sensitivity to things that didn't you might not have been sensitive to. So in your 20s you might have been able to eat certain things and
Gluten,
your
for
body didn't
example.
react to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
Mhm.
all of a sudden you're eating those same things and your body's having a very different response. So our sensitivity, and then also our lack of sensitivity to insulin specifically. So a lot of women are finding that they're being diagnosed all of a sudden with pre-diabetes, and they're like, what's happening? And it's because of these changes, these hormonal changes that are having some real effect. So this is the real impact that on women's health, and there's plenty that we can do, to make ourselves more healthy and during that time. But the fact that it's not discussed or it's not really looked at, and then women are going through all these things and thinking, what's wrong with me, or why is this happening, or it can be very confusing. They get perhaps some false information. They're given medication for something that might not be in need of medication, et cetera. So I think, yeah, those are some of the obstacles happening.
Yeah. What are like tips that you would give women over 40 to improve their nutrition and well-being?
Yeah, so there's a number of things that can be done. And some of these things would be across the board. It's kind of like
Right. Yeah.
always there's a similar handful of things that would be beneficial in this case, and also in many other cases and for many other people. But one of them would be a reduction in sugar and refined flour for a number of reasons, partially because, again, our insulin, our sensitivity to insulin is going down. And so then, we might be dealing with high blood sugar in ways that we didn't used to be, but also because and blood sugar fluctuations can be triggers for some symptoms of menopause like hot flashes, et cetera.
Right.
But the reduction of the sugar in the refined flours will help keep your blood sugar stable, will also be less inflammatory, which I know is something that you wanted to talk about at some point as well. But inflammation is such a huge part of the foundation of a lot of disease. And so we want to keep inflammation low. And so sugar and refined flour tend to push inflammation up. It can also negatively impact gut health, which is one of the most important things for, longevity and your immune system and all of that kind of thing. So for many, many reasons, reducing sugar and refined flour would be a very good thing to do. But oh yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
What are some substitutes people could do instead? Because I know there's like sprouted
Yeah.
rice, it's a lower glycemic spike than regular rice. But what are some things that people could substitute instead of refined sugars and flour?
Yeah, and that's such a great question, because one of the things that we don't want to do is just deal in restriction, because that is not sustainable and no fun. So, and I used to be a complete sugar addict, and I have such a sweet tooth. So if I didn't have the substitutions, I don't know what I would do. So yes, so instead of the refined flours, choosing whole grains, a brown rice instead of a white rice, a sprouted brown rice, even easier to digest,
Yeah.
and then you don't have to soak the rice. Any whole grains, quinoa, et cetera, oats, those types of whole grains will be either low or medium glycemic in terms of how high it spikes your blood sugar. And then for sugars, unfortunately, so many sugars are high glycemic. Even some of the not refined sugars, even like I guess honey, regular honey usually is refined. But even raw honey will give you a decent spike, maple syrup, that kind of thing. But if you're really looking to go lower glycemic,
Uh-huh.
choose something like coconut palm sugar. I just made
Oh,
black bean brownies this past
okay.
weekend because I am such a chocolate fiend and I love, brownies. I'm just a sucker for brownies. And I made it with coconut palm sugar as the sweetener, and black beans and almond butter and flax meal as the base,
Nice.
which this comes from a recipe that from the detoxinista.com, which I have found. And it's like such a saving grace for, anyone who has a sweet tooth but wants to not spike their blood sugar. But it's incredible. It's, you're eating a low glycemic dessert, but it tastes very, very sweet. So fine. And there's chocolates on the market now that are sweetened with coconut palm sugar. Stevia is also fine, especially in its more natural form, either the stevia leaf or soaked in a tincture, stevia drops. Monk fruit is fine. Fruit in general is low glycemic unless it's dried, or you're having a lot of it, or it's juiced. Lots of juices tend to get higher glycemic. But yeah, so those are some options.
Good to know. And what are some other tips that you would give folks, like maybe to how to deal with cravings? Because I know cravings is a big thing that you talk about.
Yeah, so cravings, yeah, and then just to answer the
Oh yeah,
question about the
go back
women,
to that. Yeah.
yeah, one other thing I wanted to mention is just protein, because, with loss of muscle mass and that kind of thing, the protein, the building blocks, the amino acids become more and more important, but also, because of what it does for other parts of your body. They're the building blocks of the chemicals of emotion. They're the building blocks of neurotransmitters for your brain. So it's so important to be having enough protein. But in terms of cravings, this is so you're saying what should people do when they have cravings is the question. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's you know, people usually look at cravings as a bad thing. Oh gosh, I've got to fight against my cravings. Oh no, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole if I, have some sugar, this kind of thing. But if you can shift your mindset to the fact that cravings are messages from your body that you're out of balance in some way. So it's like a plea. It's a way that your body is trying to talk to you,
Mhm.
and it's up to us to listen and try to deconstruct the language of our body, the language of cravings. And so, what I tell people to do when they do have a craving is to just take a moment, take a deep breath, close their eyes if they can, and just ask their body, well, what am I really hungry for? Like what am I really hungry for underneath the ice cream, underneath the brownies, underneath that? What's the real thing that's out of balance, or the real thing that I'm needing? And then from there, you'll start to hear some answers and some things to consider in terms of what your body could be saying to you. There's an area of foods that my nutrition school, deals with, and therefore I do, is the area of primary foods. And primary foods are the things in your life that nourish you, but don't come on a plate. So that would be things like relationships, career, exercise, spirituality, etc. And the idea is that when your primary foods are in balance, it makes what you eat secondary. But when your primary foods are out of balance, it directly affects what you eat, how much you eat, what you crave.
Uh-huh.
So the number one cause of cravings is a lack of primary foods, or a dissatisfaction in a primary food, a malnourishment in a primary food. So if you are very unhappy with your job, that is a lack. Or if you're very bored with your job and there's not enough creativity, that is a lack in primary foods that might then cause secondary food cravings to fill that gap.
Got it. So it's kind of like emotional eating. Basically, if there are things
It
that are
is.
not in balance in our lives, we use food to try to balance our discomfort or our dissatisfaction, to fill a void that we're experiencing in some other area of our life.
Absolutely. And so if you miss that, then you're just fighting the craving. Then
Uh,
you're just using restriction and willpower, and that's a losing battle, because your body's trying to tell you you're out of balance, and your body's job is to keep you in balance, and you are out of balance. It's just in a primary food area, and we're not used to linking nutrition and primary foods, but it is a holistic, complete picture. And so that's why taking a moment to ask your body what it's really asking for, it might not be actual food that it's asking for. It might be asking for some other type of nourishment. Yeah, so that's one thing. Did you have a question?
no, no, go ahead.
Oh yeah. The other thing that is a very, very big cause of cravings, which usually comes from primary foods, although not always, but stress. So, when people are very stressed, your body's again trying to create balance. And so it wants relaxation. And the foods that can sometimes help you relax are sugar, alcohol, drugs, carbs, these types of things. And so again, your body's asking for something that's not food, but you're interpreting it as food, because that's the language that you are, receiving it as. But if you can get underneath that and you understand, oh, I'm really, really stressed, I need relaxation, what are non-food ways that I can create that for myself?
Mhm.
And then
Meditation or going for a walk or something. Yeah.
exactly,
Staying
yeah.
hydrated. Yeah.
Hmm.
How do
Yeah.
you ask your body? What is it like? How do you ask your body in your field? What do you want, body?
Yeah. So it's odd, but once you start, so it takes a minute to start hearing your body's signals. So I usually take people through a process of how to start listening.
Mhm.
By the first thing I have them do is do a breakfast experiment where they're eating a bunch of different breakfasts
Uh-huh.
day, back to back, day to day, and marking down exactly how that food is making you feel, right? So you're getting cause and effect, and you're starting to hear the subtleties. Then you start to move out to primary foods, like, oh, that negative phone call I got, how is that affecting my hunger, right? So it's kind of a building to be able to listen to your body's signals. But once you are sort of have that foundation, then if you do close your eyes and you do take the time to ask your body, you should be able to hear an answer. I also make sure to do exercises with my clients around primary foods. Like, let's take a look at your primary foods. Let's see where you're in balance. Let's see where
Uh-huh.
you're not in balance, and then there's a list of the most common cravings that I go through them, so that as you're trying to deconstruct your cravings, hey, going down the list. Is it a primary food? Is it lack of water? Is it, stress? Is it a nutritional, because it can be nutritional. You didn't eat enough protein and now you're craving,
Yeah,
in and out or
absolutely.
something.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah,
And especially again, like I don't think because the doctors are having this conversation,
yeah,
women over 40 especially need to have protein because
yeah,
otherwise you're losing muscle. And
yep,
whether you're a vegan or vegetarian or you're not an omnivore, however you get your protein, you've got to have your protein because otherwise you're
hmm,
just going to lose muscle mass, right?
yes,
And if you lose muscle mass, you're going to be higher risk for osteoporosis. And what we don't realize is that osteopenia and osteoporosis begin impacting our lives a lot sooner than we realize. So you really
yeah.
want to make sure you're having enough protein. And can you talk a little about the foods that impact people's minds, like how, like thinking? Because I know, what we put into our body also impacts our ability to think, to function. Um,
Yeah, I mean, again, because everything in your body is holistic, like everything really is, everything affects everything. So there's a bunch of things I can talk about specifically that are very brain related,
mhm,
but
mhm,
actually gut has to do with it too. But your
mhm,
blood, detoxification, liver, like all of it impacts because it's, you've got blood going from your brain to your other parts of your body, and the chemicals of emotion and the neurotransmitters are going, to all parts of your body. So there's a lot of sort of crossover because it's all interconnected. But when you're thinking about the brain, protein again, so important because those amino acids, first of all, are the building blocks of the chemicals of emotion that are created, often in your brain, sometimes in your gut, and that cause you to, serotonin, for instance, oxytocin, like all of the chemicals of emotion, the ones that relax you, that cause your body to be able to relax. So this is so important to, be able to have those um, the things that your brain is trying to send to the rest of your body, but also the neurotransmitters themselves. The building blocks of those cells come from protein. So protein again is just very, very important for brain health. But then the other one that's hugely important is healthy fat, because your brain is made 60% up of fat, and particularly you need omega 3s, the omega 3 fatty acids. And so we're talking about healthy forms of fat that come from walnuts, that come from, avocado, and then also from, if you're not vegan, from some animal sources like, fish, because of the
salmon.
omega 3 content. Salmon is amazing, eggs,
Mhm.
etc. So making sure you get enough fat, the whole anti-fat, diet thing is really harmful for brain health, for overall health, because your hormones for women are, you need enough fat for the building blocks of your hormones. But so those two are very, very important. And then if you're thinking about, the detoxification factor, the fact that, the blood does need to be clean and, oxygenated and detoxified, and that's going to affect your brain. So, eating foods that are not toxic, eating, cruciferous vegetables that are detoxifying, and anti-inflammatory, and that type of thing. So, yeah. And then really what it comes down to, right, is real whole food, vegetables, good, quality
Mhm.
fats and proteins. I mean, it's the same low glycemic, it's all the same type of stuff, but there's specific reasons why, those would be supportive of brain.
That's very helpful.
Mm.
Anything else I haven't asked you yet that you'd like to share?
Um, well, I guess one of the things that, just going back to the cravings. So
Yeah.
sometimes when you do figure out, the reason that you're craving something, oh, I'm super stressed out because my job is horribly stressful, but you might not be able to do anything about that at that moment, like if you're in the middle of a stressful week. So then the second thing to do in the meantime, so that that's a long-term project, right? Balancing out that area of primary foods. But in the meantime, reach for the healthiest version of the thing you're craving. And so then that comes down to like those black bean brownies I mentioned that are sweetened with coconut palm sugar. I'm a really big advocate of healthy alternatives rather than restriction.
Uh-huh.
Again, because it needs to be sustainable, but also because people should enjoy their life. Like we're not trying to.
You want to enjoy, absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. And so overall, when you're looking at long-term sustainable health, it really is about a lifestyle that works for you, that's
Uh,
realistic, that's doable, that, tastes good, that, you're intrinsically motivated to do, and all of these things matter. And so you want to work with your body, with your personality, with the confines of your actual lifestyle and your schedule. And that's, where the coaching, does come in, because we're really looking at how to make this work for each person. And there's really no one right diet for everyone. That's really the truth.
yeah, no, I believe that. Years ago, I did the plan where you're eating a lot of different things and noticing, you'll take everything out of your diet, start over, and
Yeah.
then you see what causes your body inflammation. And
Yeah.
people would say, "Oh, almonds are really good for you," but I think for me, almonds caused inflammation. So it was really interesting to see that just because someone says it's healthy doesn't mean it is for you. So you really do have to check in with your own body and see what supports your body. Um,
Yeah.
do you have any
Absolutely.
recipes or anything on your website, Jamie? That
So
would you
I have I think I have over time, over my blogs, have peppered in recipes here and there, but I will say I'm a decent cook. Like
uh-huh.
I cook functionally. I know how to cook healthy, but I'm not, I'm a creative person in terms of films and writing. I'm not the best chef. So what I have done is found recipes, from people who are actually like creative chefs. And so the one that I would recommend the most, for a recipe blog, is the Detoxinista that I mentioned,
Detoxification.
detoxinista.com. And I learned early on in my coaching career to just let it be okay. Like I can cook, I don't need a lot of spice. I just cook really healthy. But I cook for other people and they're like, okay, this is fine. I don't mind that it tastes plain. I'm just happy that it's healthy, right? But if you want, vetted recipes from, someone that actually calls himself a chef, then I would do that one. I'm sure there's many, many others, but that's the go-to. I think it's completely plant-based, that
Uh-huh.
particular
Okay.
site, and also lots of nice dessert recipes.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, we've got to have
Yeah,
dessert. It's so important.
yeah, yeah.
Um, is there any like, would you say, do you have like a typical kind of client that comes to you that, you know, um, kind of just a typical issue that people come to you for?
I mean, I find that there are some recurring themes for sure.
Yeah,
One
okay,
is
that's
gut
a great
health.
way to say it. Okay, recurring
Yeah,
thing. One is gut health. Okay, got it.
yeah, gut health. I can't tell you how many people are dealing with this. And actually, gut health is how I came into the field of, nutrition, because that's what I was dealing with that gave me so much trouble. And it was happening, at a time when I really considered myself very, very healthy. I was in my 20s. I was an athlete. I, was vegetarian. I thought of myself as very, very healthy, and yet I was dealing with some major, major digestive issues that just weren't showing up on tests. And it was really affecting, my energy. And I could tell something was very wrong.
Uh-huh.
And this is so common. So the people coming with either real pain, like distress, gut distress, or or just issues generally in their gut, candida, etc. This is so common because of the standard American diet, which is ultra processed, lots
Yeah.
of toxins, high glycemic, lots of, refined sugars and carbs, which just feeds the bad bacteria in your gut,
Mhm.
and feeds the yeast. And then, that pushes down the good bacteria. And also medications and antibiotics and all of these things do the same. And so does stress. So, there you have it. It's like what everyone's going through,
Yeah.
and, some more than others. But that, and 80% of your immune system lies in your gut. So, and then also it affects your metabolism, right? The smoother your
Right.
digestion, so it can slow down your metabolism to have gut issues as well. So, this is one of the most important things that I do work with people on. It's so common, but also it is foundational. I consider it foundational when I'm working with people. And then sugar addiction. It is just so common because it is addictive. It's more than 4 times as addictive as cocaine, and it's a real thing. And people are
Yeah.
struggling, really, really struggling with it. So, yeah, those two are big ones.
Thank you. So if people wanted to find you and work with you, can you say your website for us again?
Yeah, it's healthyjaime.com, and Jamie is spelled Jaime.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it. Anything
Yeah.
else before we wrap up that you'd like to share?
Um, No, I guess, yeah, well, one more thing is just to say that, in order to be healthy, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be eating healthy all the time. So, there's the 90-10 principle that I work with, which is basically 90% of the time, if you can, that's the ideal, to aim for 90% of the time eating what you know is good for your body. And
Mhm.
10% of the time, don't worry about it.
Mhm.
And that allows for life. That allows
Yeah.
for, reality and that kind of thing. And I think um, that type of mindset helps
Mhm.
people be able to have a sustainable, healthy, lifestyle and diet for the long term.
Right. They're not suffering. They can still enjoy life and
Exactly.
well, and also have dessert. So important.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
exactly.
Thank you for all this information. It's
Yeah.
really helpful, and thank you for what you do. Again, I've referred folks to you and hear great things about your work. And I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate that you're out there helping people stay healthy. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank
Yeah.
you for what you do as well. I feel the same way. So I appreciate it.
All right. Well, if you look in the comments section, you'll find a link to Jamie's website as well as it was the what was the
The
eating?
detoxinista.
Detoxinista. There'll be a link
Yep.
to Detoxinista below. So please check those out. Please like and subscribe and share this video with anyone you feel could benefit from what Jamie has shared with us today. Thanks so much. Take care,
Thanks, Davina. Bye.
Jamie. Bye-bye.